I'm going to introduce a little bit about the Autodesk Construction Cloud, which is being used currently in many firms, and we're going to be using it in the firm as well. For most of the office projects we'll be working on. Who is this type of training on the Autodesk Construction Cloud for? It's for anyone who's trying to get proficient in using the Autodesk Construction Cloud for their projects, Revit projects, CAD projects, etc. The objective is to become familiar with the interface, also to reduce the load on the local server to be able to accelerate the speed of opening files and work a little bit faster. Construction Cloud has many advantages. Some of the benefits are that you can work from anywhere. You don't have to log into a VPN or be present in the office. You can work basically from anywhere without having a VPN. As long as you have an internet connection, that's all you need. The problem is if you don't have an internet connection and you're trying to work, then it's just wasted. And it's also for consultants to access information. Third parties can access the cloud from just a browser and can access the latest information on the cloud, which is great. And you can also do markups and coordination in the browser. This facilitates the whole operation of keeping the team up to date and annotating drawings, etc. And you also keep automated backups, and you don't have to worry about backing up your information from time to time. You can just keep everything on the cloud. The cloud makes all the backups for you. There are some cons of working on the cloud. It's a new interface, so you need to get familiar with it. It's not that difficult, to be honest. I was thinking, if you know how to use Facebook, you'll get this very quickly. This is way easier than Facebook. I find Facebook changes the interface all the time. The Autodesk Construction Cloud is very similar to Dropbox, drag and drop, a few items that you need to click, etc. You need a constant connection to the internet. So if you're working remotely and your connection is poor, you'll suffer in terms of your working capacity. And the platform can also have outages. It happened a few weeks ago where the cloud was down, the servers were down like for 3-4 hours, but it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And you obviously have more dependence on Autodesk. So there's licenses fees, your data is locked with Autodesk. And yeah, these are things you need to keep in mind when jumping to the cloud, that you're going to be basically marrying Autodesk for the foreseeable future. There are two ways to access the Construction Cloud. The easiest way by far, and this is what I recommend to all teams, is to access the Autodesk Construction Cloud on your browser. But before accessing Construction Cloud on your browser, you need a license to access the Construction Cloud. And here there are two types of licenses. There's the BIM Collaborate license, which enables you to use the cloud as a file server for markups and documentation. But if you want to work with Revit files on the cloud, you need BIM Collaborate Pro. That's the only difference between the two. Obviously, there's a substantial price increase on the Revit collaboration side of things, but you need a license regardless. And the bookmark you need to keep in your browser at all times is acc.autodesk.com/projects. That's where you go to access your projects. All projects folders become separate projects. So if you're working on the server, you'll see that you can see all the projects in the server. Each folder in the server is a project, and you can see all of them. In the cloud, it's different. So you'll have access to specific projects that you are given access by someone else, in this case, the project lead. And if you don't have access, you won't see those projects. So it's important to keep this in mind, because if you want to see all projects as a reference, you need to ask for access, and you wouldn't know of its existence unless someone else tells you, oh, there's this project that only administrators can see all the projects. So yeah, each person has to be added to the project to make the project visible. Right? So I recommend you now go to your browser and type in acc.autodesk.com/projects and bookmark that address, because you're going to be using it a lot. The interface of the cloud is very simple to use. At the top, you have the main menu. That's where you switch apps. We're going to focus now on Docs, which is the application that manages files. The rest, we'll leave it for later. Then you have the navigational menu when you have different things in the Docs document, but what we're focusing now is mostly on files. We'll leave a specification, reviews, etc. for another training. Then you have the project chooser. So here, if you click there, you'll get a drop down with all the projects you have access to, which may be limited depending on on how many projects you've been added to. And then you have the project folders, which in this case, the folder structure has been determined by the office and it's very clear, and people shouldn't tamper with the folder structure. It's there for a reason. And then you have the files. If you select one of these folders, you'll see the list of files on the big window that you can see on the red mark. So the file structure itself, I'm going to go to the browser. So I'm going to go acc.autodesk.projects.com. You need to log in. So I'm going to log in. So I'm going to go to the training project. Here we go. So the folder structure is, you have the BCAR documentation at the top, which has its own folder structure. Then you have all the imported folders. So basically these are files coming from third parties, so consultants, clients, etc. Then you have drawings. This is the core of the folder structure that we have in the office. So you have all the project phases from concept design to handover, and each project phase has a series of folders inside, which is the work in progress, which is meant to host all your AutoCAD files that you're working on, because the Revit models go in a different section. And then you have the issued. So here you put all the files that you actually issue as drawings. You'll create a folder with a date, which you click on the three dots and you click add folder, and then you put the date, let's say the 5th of May, and then you say issued for coordination. And then inside there, you create your subfolders with CAD and PDF and the issued documentation. Then you have the current folder, which is meant to hold the latest copy, the latest PDF CAD drawing in this case. Then you have another one for the drawing register and another one for submission. So the last set of drawings that close each phase go here. So here you have the whole lifespan of the project. There's no limit in the amount of information you can upload to the cloud. So you don't have to worry about having too many files, right? Then we have documents. So all the documents that are not drawings and that are related to the project go here. Then you have everything related to the legal aspects of the projects go in legal. And then you have BIM WIP, which is BIM work in progress. You have a folder called BIM management, which is used for internal management of the project. And then you have architecture, which is where you have the models that you're actually working with. So yeah, that's the folder structure. The rest this is managed by the Construction Cloud, when you share models, and you have a little bit of a coordination space that we'll talk about it later. The backup system and the auto versioning of the cloud is great. It's automatic. So if you go to a file, in this case, for example, the BIM shared file, you'll see that each file has a version, a V, and if you load a new version of this file with the same name, it will create a new version, in this case, version 3. And that's the way Autodesk keeps backups of the files. You don't have to rename it and say version 1 or version 2 or keep a folder with superseded. No, everything is automatic. So if I click here, I can see that version 1 was uploaded in 11th of October and version 2 is the current one, also a little bit later that same day. And if I want to see this one, I can click on it and I will be able to see it. It's flagging me here that it's not the current version. And if I want to see the latest one as well, I can click on it. But if for some reason I want to restore a backup, you can click on it and say make current. So it will ask you, are you sure? And then, yeah. So it will tell you that the current version is version 1, which is older than version 2, but it was your choice, right, by me. So that's the way the project versioning works. It's the same with the models. You have versions, which is great, and you don't have to worry about backups. So that's one of the biggest benefits of the cloud, right? Access from your local disk. All this is happening in your browser. If you want to create a mirror of the files in your PC, you need something called the Autodesk Desktop Connector, which I call it the ugly sibling because it breaks a lot. It's a bit unstable, etc. So I'm not going to say too much about it. It has a few tricks to be able to manage it properly, right? You can download the Autodesk Desktop Connector from the server or from the Autodesk website, and the icon looks like this, like a D with a gray background, right? It's different from the A is for updates. The D is the desktop connector. When you install the desktop connector, Autodesk Docs folder is created under your PC, right? So that's the way you access the files. And once you have that folder created, you have to select the projects that you want to see in your machine. And this is because sometimes you have too many projects and it will crash your hard disk. So that's why it allows you to select which projects you want to have on your hard disk. And then if you go to select your projects, you'll have a list of your projects and you can select which ones you want to have on your project, on your local copy, let's say. And once that's selected and clicked OK, it will give you a confirmation saying it's. Now, Autodesk Desktop Connector has a problem, which is sometimes too many users are using the same files, or someone creates a folder that is not compatible, etc. It might show a dot. So what this means is there's a problem and nothing is moving up and down. This is very important because when you install Autodesk Desktop Connector, the icon gets hidden on the background. You won't get notified that there's a problem, but there will be a problem. And then you have to click on pending actions and try to solve what's happening here. The solutions are not straightforward, but the new version of Autodesk Desktop Connector has a tool at the bottom that says troubleshooting. You can click on it and try your best. Sometimes it works almost automatically. So I advise you to pin the Autodesk Desktop Connector to your taskbar so you can see the red button. So what you do is you drag the D Desktop Connector and put it in the bottom of your taskbar so you can always see if there's a red button there. And the most common cause is adding new projects to the root project folder. So within the Autodesk Desktop Connector, you have your main folders. And if you add a folder in that root folder, it will flag immediately red because the projects need to be created by the manager, by the administrator. So keep this in mind. If you want a new project created, you cannot do it yourself. You have to ask the manager of the system. So setting up a new project requires giving permissions, choosing a template, etc. So this has to be done by the administrator. So how do you add files to the cloud? It's super easy. What you have to do is just navigate to the folder structure, open the folder you want to drop in the file, drag and drop, and that's it. As you can see on the screen, it's super easy to do. And how do you review 3D models? Reviewing 3D models is also pretty standard. So once you have located the Revit model that you want to review, you just click on it. And as long as the publishing settings are right, you'll be able to see it immediately in your browser, which is great because this interface is way easier to navigate than Revit. The Revit interface is tricky. This is very smooth. You can see what's happening. You can spot mistakes and you can do sections, you can flag issues, etc. So this is great. And if you click on the icon where it says sheets and views, you can click on 2D and actually go to the floor plans, which may look like a printed PDF, but it's not a printed PDF. It's actually the model itself. So I can select items here and it will tell me that it's actually a Revit element. So we go to the ground floor plan. For example, here, there, it's telling me this is a wall. If I go to properties, I can see this is a wall, or this is a shower, etc. So this is great because this is the actual model that's showing. It's not a PDF. So if someone changes the model, a wall, they don't have to reprint, or they just have to publish the changes and you will be able to see them immediately here. How do you add issues? So issues is the way of adding coordination items to the models, right? So if you go to the 3D model, and let's say you want someone to fix this window, there's something wrong with this window, you click on this tick bar on the right, you can add an issue to this window and say, please fix it. You need to add it to someone. So in this case, I'm going to add it to myself. And then I will get a notification by email saying you've been flagged on an issue in the 3D model, and then I will be able to go to the browser and see where the issue is and fix it, right? So this is great for coordination, highly recommended, super easy to use. You can also compare models. So the comparison tool is here at the top, this icon here. So you need to select I'm going to compare version 3 with previous versions. So in this case, let's say version 2. And you have to select exactly the same view, right? Because they compare the same views. So I'm going to click on compare. And it's going to give me a breakdown of the things that were changed, added, and removed, right? So green stuff is new stuff. Red stuff is things that were deleted, and yellow stuff were modified, right? So you can easily see what changed, what was moved, And you can turn this on and off. So you want to see only what was deleted or only what was modified. It's super easy to use. And you can zoom out and immediately see where the changes were. Super useful tool, especially for meetings with third-party consultants. Marking up drawings is the same story. It works a little bit like a PDF. So I'm going to close the comparison and I'm going to open the sheets within the model, not the actual PDFs. And I'm going to add a markup to this, let's say like a PDF markup. And I'm going to publish and I'm going to tag someone in this, because if you don't tag someone, they won't get notified. So I'm going to say markup for you. I'm going to assign myself to it. And there you go. I'll receive an email saying there's a markup for you. So super easy to use, highly recommended. And you can keep track of those markups, right? And when someone fixes those markups, the owner of the markup will be notified. Sharing models is also straightforward. You go to, in this case, the Revit model itself. Let's say I want to send this to a consultant that is not part or doesn't have access to the cloud. Because if they have access to the cloud, it's a different way of sharing stuff, but I'm not going to go into that now, because the consultants, when you start working on the cloud, will probably not be in the cloud. So if you click on the actual file and say, where is the share? Sorry. Anyone with the link, you can select only the current version, which is being shared, instead of always the latest version, because this gives you control over the information that you're actually sharing. And then if you go to links, copy this link, post it on an email to whoever you wanted to, then the owner of that, the receiver of that email will get a window like this, where they can download that file, right? Super easy to use, highly recommend. So yeah, those were the quick introduction to the Construction Cloud. Now you know the overview of the pros and cons, you know how to access the cloud on your browser, you know how to install and monitor the Autodesk Desktop Connector, you know how to review models in your browser, and you know how to mark up drawings in your browser. So I hope this was helpful, and yeah, follow up for more. Thank you.